What's up, everybody? Welcome to another installment of the podcast version of our Risers and Shiners list presented by Prospect Worldwide. I'm your host, as always, Drake Mann. You can follow me on Twitter at DrakeMann4, and I'm joined only by my co-host today, Austin Farmer. Austin, say hey.
What's up, everybody? I hope y'all are excited to get into this podcast episode over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Sorry to steal your thunder there, Drake. Actually, I'm not very sorry at all. But today we're going to be going over the Diamondbacks.
I was getting to that, but okay, way to just completely cut me off. And so, Austin, I'm glad it sounds like you're doing okay. You're having a good night. But anyway, what do you think about the Arizona Diamondbacks system as a whole?
Yeah, overall, I really like the pitching coming up in the Diamondbacks system. I think that they have a lot of really good talent coming up through the farm. And, they have guys like Bryce Jarvis, and they have a lot of good collegiate pitchers that they have acquired through the draft over the years. So that's the main thing that I like about their farm system. But, they also do have a lot of really athletic, power hitting position players too. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and when you mention that pitching, it's super underrated. I mean, there's a lot of guys that we're going to mention today. There's more guys we're not even going to mention. But yeah, that are good and come with considerable upside. And the D-backs have some trade pieces because they're obviously not going to be contenders this year. But if they trade from that little pitching core that they have, I mean, they could get some serious talent back.
Sorry, Diamondback fans, that we're calling you out, but it's true.
I mean, the closest team to the Padres and Dodgers right now is the Giants, and they're about 6 games back. So that division's fairly weak.
Yeah, sad.
All right, Austin, let's turn this up a notch and get a little bit more excited here. Number one on our list, this is a pretty obvious one. I mean, we're talking about Corbin Carroll here, and Austin, I'm going to quote you here as I know that you're a big fan of Corbin Carroll, but you have him. You said, and I quote, "He looks like a deer running around the bases." So, on top of your talking about him, I would love to hear where you got "he looks like a deer running around the bases" from.
Yeah, like if you drive out in the country and you see deer, running across the street trying to get out of the way. I mean, it's not like the get out of the way sense. It's just, deer can be quick. And Corbin Carroll is very quick around the bases. And it's like, wow, you don't want to be in front of him when he's running. And he's got plus speed. He's going to steal a lot of bases. He is going to be a prototypical leadoff hitter. He's going to be atop the leaderboard and stolen bases every year. He's going to have a lot of doubles and triples, and he just knows how to run, man. He utilizes it in the outfield, and it's just he's one of the quickest athletes in the minor leagues right now.
Very interesting. Now, what about his other tools to his game?
Yeah, I really like his hit tool. I do have his hit as a plus. I do only have his power as a 40, but honestly, he's flashing a lot more power this season. He's already got 14 bombs this year, and that's a lot more than a lot of people were expecting. He had 10 or close to 10 home runs in the month of April, and he has kind of slowed down a little bit. But the fact that he's only 165 pounds and he's already flashing a lot of power this season. He's going to hit for a high average. He's got a really strong approach at the plate. He's going to take his handful of walks, and he's a, like I said, the prototypical leadoff hitter. So he's going to, I would imagine, around 180 to 200 hits a season. I might have to go back and look at that power tool again, but I would imagine 15 and 19 bombs, so like 45 would be more realistic now. But yeah, I can see him hitting, close to 40 plus doubles a season and around 10 triples. And steal, 40 to 50 plus bases a season. He's a really interesting kid to like you said, it is pretty obvious that Corbin Carroll is the number one prospect in the Diamondback system.
That's very interesting that you brought up not only his stolen base tendencies, but his doubles and triples, because Austin, are you aware what a speed score is?
I am a little bit after the bit that you've explained it, but I think for our listeners as well, if you go into a further explanation for those that don't.
So folks, if you don't know what a speed score is, it's a SPD score. Bill James, as we all know, like with the father of baseball analytics, basically made a score that it goes basically 10. Well, let me step back really quick. I think 10 is the highest you can get, but anything like a 7 is excellent. 6 is above average. 5 is average. 4 below average. You guys get the deal. But it factors in basically triples. It factors in stolen base percentages. It factors in stolen base tendencies, all that type of stuff into one stat. And Corbin Carroll currently in 2022 has a speed score of 9.3, which that's not even the best in the minors, which is pretty amazing to me. But when you're saying that Corbin Carroll is quick, that's an understatement. He's fast, and he's going to be a massive base stealer going forward. But on top of that, he also has a 166 weighted runs created plus, and that's 66 points above average. And weighted runs created plus factors in doubles and home runs and just extra base hits. And that's exactly what Corbin Carroll is. I think he's a perfect prospect for what the D-backs are trying to achieve here going forward.
Yeah. And, I'm not going to dwell on this too much because, we can talk about Corbin Carroll all day, but I love the way how the Diamondbacks are progressing his development. Yeah. And, I'm not going to dwell on this too much because, we can talk about Corbin Carroll all day, but I love the way how the Diamondbacks are progressing his development. He had that really bad injury after like a week last season where he missed the rest of the season, and he was in high A, and that was after the COVID year too. So, he didn't play at all in 2020. He barely played in 2021, but yet here he is in Double A in 2022 and just dominating. And another interesting stat is he's got 53 runs scored in just 47 games. So yeah, he's getting a lot of opportunity to score and use his speed around the bases. And the stolen base is kind of becoming, I wouldn't say a lost art, but it's definitely not as common anymore as it was back then. Like, Mike Trout in 2013 stole 49 bases. He doesn't even have a stolen base this year. And it's going to be really refreshing to see guys like Corbin Carroll who are going to steal 40 plus this season.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And Austin, we're going to move forward here with someone that has actually made their debut in 2022. And we go from one outfielder to another. And this time we're talking about Alec Thomas. And neither of us did the report for Alec Thomas. Matt Heckman did it. He's also one of our fantasy and dynasty experts. And he has a quote saying, "I think he will likely play every day for them once they do, with above average defense and a strong ability to get on base." Austin, does that not sum up Alec Thomas or what?
Yeah. And, Thomas is playing center field right now. I do feel that when Carroll is brought up, that Thomas is going to shift to a corner outfield spot. But that being said, he's still going to be playing every day. He's still going to be getting on base. And, he's also going to be another guy that utilizes his speed around the bases. And he's going to have, a high amount of doubles and a probably close to 10 triples every season, I would imagine, because the Diamondbacks outfield is just going to be really exciting to watch. Yeah,
and a lot of people do realize that Alec Thomas is one of my I wouldn't say one of my favorite prospects, but I do really like him. And the stats speak for themselves. I mean, if you dig into his StatCast a little bit, now that he's in the majors, you can actually see that. That's open to the public. But he's 97 percentile sprint speed with 29 feet per second. And what's interesting is for a rookie, he demolishes breaking balls, hitting 371 and an expected batting average of 357. Now, Alec Thomas, I mean, that's just incredible for a rookie to post those type of numbers on breaking balls. Because, you go through the minors and you don't see a major league breaking ball till you get to AAA. And even then, they're not a major league caliber breaking ball unless it's like, a rehab starter.
Yeah. And, another interesting stat about that is he's only struck out 18 times in the 99 at-bats at recording. So yeah, he's just got a really good plate coverage and pitch recognition. So, he's a rookie right now, so he's going to go through peaks and valleys just like every player. But, he's doing a really good job at keeping the strikeouts down, making really good contact. And yeah, he's only 22 years old. So, imagine what he's going to be when he's in his prime. He might be, Yeah, he'll be close to about a 280 hitter and, hitting 25 plus bombs while producing really high contact rates. So I could see possibly Corbin Carroll at leadoff and Alec Thomas at number 2 or number 3 for the Diamondbacks.
Well, I mean, Austin, you are talking about prime here, and that what the D-backs do better than anyone in the league. They trade players in their prime. So let's hope that none of this happens.
Yeah.
Sorry, D-backs fans, but I just had to put that chime in. We love you all. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I hope that the D-backs do lock up Thomas to a long-term deal, because imagine, if he and Carroll can, lock down in that outfield, Diamondback fans are going to have something to hope for. But I'm being pretty optimistic here.
That is very optimistic. But number 3, we're going to move on here. Number 3 on our list is Blake Walston. And Matt actually has said in his report that he thinks that I'm not going to quote this. I want to basically shorten this up a little bit, but he is more likely than not, his ceiling is a back end starter. Now that is very interesting for what I think you and I believe. So Austin, let's go ahead and talk about Blake Walston here.
Yeah, I think we both can agree that we feel that Walston will be about a mid-rotation pitcher. And it's really interesting, the development of Walston, where he's come from. When he was drafted, he was only 6'3", 6'4", 165, 170 pounds. He's now 6'5", 195 pounds. And he has added some velo. He's now into the mid 90s. And, his RPM isn't all that great, but just he's got really strong command, and I can see him, not an ace by any means, but he's going to be a solid mid-rotation pitcher. I feel like he's going to eat up a handful of innings. And I think maybe him being a back-end rotation is maybe his floor. So we're definitely higher on him than Matt is. But again, we did foreshadow pitchers earlier, and Walston is definitely a guy that should be a really solid piece in the Diamondbacks rotation.
So that was interesting what you said about his fastball really not being, or really getting, he's sitting mid 90s now, because Matt was actually talking about that. The fastball doesn't have a lot of spin, as we already classified, but the velocity also is very weird. So he can sit 95, but then sometimes he'll sit, 89 or 90, 92, stuff like that. Walston doesn't have a lot of good control either right now. I know he's only 20 years old, but if that control doesn't, as we've seen and we've talked about, Austin, with certain process, if you don't have a lot of control, you're never going to make it anywhere. So that is very interesting to note that that's what Matt thinks on Walston.
His command definitely looked better last year, so I think maybe he's going through some trials at the moment, possibly. Yeah, he's only 20 years old right now, so he's already pitching in AA. So the Diamondbacks do have a lot of hope for him. They're trying to progress his development. And it's just one of those things where, like we were talking about his velo, it can sit mid 90s, but it can also peak. So I think that he's probably going to repeat in AA next year, I would imagine, and they'll probably tweak something with him next season. Yeah, right now he's just not looking as sharp as he was in 2021. But that being said, I can still agree with him being a mid-rotation pitcher with solid command. I think that he will figure it out. And I would like to see him spin the ball more. But Walston is definitely an interesting prospect that the Diamondbacks have.
One more note, though, on that is a little troublesome, and that's where also I could see where Matt could possibly think that he's a back-end rotation starter. His walks this year, so in 2021, he had 33 walks and 95.2 innings. In 2022, he has 21 walks and 42.1 innings. That's very scary. That transition.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be concerned about. And that's why I was saying he's probably going to repeat in AA next season, because they you don't want to rush him or anything. And if he's struggling this much right now, imagine if he gets sent to AAA, he's gonna struggle. And I think that for the betterment of his development is to repeat in AA next season, so that he can work on finding the strike zone better and reducing that walk rate. Yeah,
that's very interesting. And he's just he is an interesting prospect, but he's a weird prospect. I wouldn't say weird, but like in April, he had an ERA of under 3. And then in May, in the same amount of starts, he had an ERA above 12. So that's the huge transition. Maybe they just need to get him locating more, but also just getting that stuff to be more, because the stuff is obviously raw. It's in the tank that the stuff is going to be good, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with Blake Walston.
Yeah. And, I did mention that he has gotten a lot bigger since his high school days. So I think that the more that he continues to fill out his frame and also the more that he's getting professional development and everything, like, I think he'll be fine. But right now, yeah, he's a young pitcher. He's going to go through peaks and valleys. And yeah, it's just a matter of time before everything clicks.
Very well said. And now we move forward with number 4 on our list. And D-backs fans, this is where you're going to start to love us. Drafted 6th overall in 2021. We're talking about Jordan Lawler, and this was one of the most surprising picks in the draft, in my opinion, mainly because Jordan Lawler was projected to go in the top 5, even top 3. People were calling him the best position prospect in the draft, and he dropped to 6, which is very, very interesting to me. And right now he's a .461 on base percentage in single A Visalia. So yeah, let's talk about Jordan Lawler.
Yeah, like you said, he was projected to go top 3 overall. And as a Rangers fan, I was really hoping that the Rangers would take him there. And I kind of broke my rule because I can't stand it when people say, as a fan of so-and-so, and here I am doing it. So, call me out for that. I don't care. But yeah, I was really hoping that the Rangers would take him, with him being from their own backyard. I thought it would be really good for the fan base. And he just, he was getting a lot of Carlos Correa comms coming out of Dallas Jesuit High School. And I could definitely see it. I think that, I don't know. I definitely don't like Correa. That's just me, but I definitely feel like Lawler could even be better possibly. And, that is saying a lot, but right now Lawler is hurt, but before he was hurt, he was absolutely demolishing baseballs. He had 7 bombs before he was hurt. He was hitting .352 with a .461 on base percentage. And another, I knew that he had speed and he could run the bases well, but he's got 18 stolen bases in 21 attempts. So he was doing everything before he got hurt. And yeah, the fact that the D-backs got him with the 6th overall spot, that was an absolute steal. But, he waited until the last minute to sign in. There was some speculation that maybe he was trying to go to Vanderbilt, and then he ended up, signing. And then he did get hurt last season in the ACL the Arizona Complex League. So, there was a lot of concern about what would happen, but, he picked up right where he left off. And, it's going to be exciting to see him come back healthy.
No, but Austin, that is a very good point, because it was funny because I was going to take one of my buddies, a D-backs fan. I live in Arizona. And I told him, like, dude, Jordan Lawler's out here. Dude, you got to come with me. It'd be awesome to go see him. And I needed to get some film done. And we get there and we're like, Jordan Lawler's not in the lineup. I wonder why. And then I looked up and he had a shoulder injury. And we're like, wow, well, we came all this way for nothing. So, yeah. But then that was the day I fell in love with Nerwillian Cedeno as a prospect. So
thank you, Jordan Lawler.
It balances out. Yeah, thank you, Jordan Lawler. But anyway, Austin, we're moving on to number 5 on our list. And this guy is another pitcher in their system that he's struggling mightily in 2022. But the stuff and the strikeout numbers are to be incredible. They are borderline elite, honestly. He has career 256 strikeouts and 192.1 innings pitched. We're talking about Ryan Nelson. And Ryan Nelson, neither of us did his scouting report. Patrick Joyce did the report for us. His Twitter will be linked underneath the write-up if you guys want to go follow him. But yeah, Ryan Nelson, Austin, both of us are fans of him. So just go ahead and take over.
Yeah, Nelson has an incredible fastball. There's a lot of spin to his fastball. And if you want to talk about a pitcher that has a lot of spin, Nelson has a lot of spin on his fastball. And, an interesting thing is a lot of the D-backs top pitching prospects this season, they're struggling. That's nothing to be too worried about. Nelson is a little bit on the older side at 24, but he is in AAA. So he might just, I don't know. There might be nerves possibly. I can't really say, but something is up. And
all right, well, thank you, Austin. But to me, you just said something that just stuck in my head, and then just one name popped in my head out of the blue. And you're saying that all these minor league guys, well, two of the pitchers that we've talked about have struggled. However, the D-backs hiring of Brett Strom is going to make this entire pitching depth incredible. And I fully believe that. As everyone knows, Brett Strom was one of the big reasons why Garrett Cole turned into the Garrett Cole that is now. He's a big reason why the Astros have had such good pitching through their playoff runs. Brett Strom was a big reason why the Astros were good. And now he goes to the Diamondbacks, and now Madison Bumgarner's pitching well again. Zach Gallen's pitching as like an ace. Merrill Kelly's pitching like an ace. Like, what he does and will do for the D-backs going forward is just absolutely incredible.
But like I mentioned earlier, Nelson is 24 in AAA, and yeah, he is having his struggles. But when he is called up, when Strom can take Nelson under his tutelage, I think that there's a lot to dream on. I think that with that fastball and the spin on his fastball, that Strom is going to do something that he's just going to tap into the best Nelson, and Nelson will probably be like a number 4, number 5, because like you said, they have Madison Bumgarner, they have Zach Gallen, and they have Merrill Kelly. And so, yeah, if, Nelson should find his way in the rotation around the number 4, number 5 spot. And that is, it's going to be it's hard not to dream on Nelson.
Well, worst case scenario with Nelson, I mean, he's an elite reliever with those strikeout numbers. His stuff is just ridiculous sometimes. I mean, but I mean, him being a top 5 prospect, you would want him to be in the rotation. But worst case scenario is he is an elite reliever and someone that the D-backs can lean heavy on going forward.
Yeah, he might be an outstanding setup man in the future.
But anyway, Austin, we're going to move forward to our riser section. So our top 5 was number 1, Corbin Carroll. Number 2, Alec Thomas. Number 3, Blake Walston. Number 4, Jordan Lawler. Number 5, Ryan Nelson. Now, number 1 on our risers list, here's another pitcher with considerable upside. And we're talking about Bryce Jarvis. And Austin, I know you did the report here on him. And my take on Jarvis is what happened in the draft was he just got noticed at the right time. His stuff just got even better and better and better. And the D-backs said, hey, we'll draft you. Let's see what you got. And he's giving him back some, he's making himself a worthy investment.
Yeah, and like you said, he was found at the right time because, I didn't really. Well, I knew of Jarvis going into the draft, but I would say I wasn't as familiar with him until his junior season. Before the season was shut down, he was just on fire. He had 40 strikeouts in 27 innings. He had an ERA under 1. He had just walked 2 batters, and he was just amazing that season, and that definitely caught my attention. And his ERA last season in 2021 wasn't great, but he did make it to AA, and he is in AA right now. He put up a really good strikeout ratio last season with 89 and 75 in a third innings. But what I really like about Jarvis is I really like his fastball. I really like his ability to work on the mound. I think that he works quickly. I think he's going to be a bulldog on the mound. You know how high I am on Jarvis. I really like his spin rates. He's going to accumulate a lot of strikeouts. I can see him striking out 200 plus batters this season. Jarvis is just a guy that while he is struggling this season, he's going to be another guy that's just hard not to dream on. And I think that we should see him debut probably by the end of next season, probably mid next season, if everything comes together. The starts that I have seen, I would say he's struggling more with command. Like he's hitting the strike zone, but he's leaving pitches in more hittable areas from what I was seeing. And I do realize that the walk rate is higher. I think that is going to be worked out. A lot of that does have to do with how much spin he has. And I think that things are going to come together. Another Diamondbacks pitcher that has a lot of upside, but is struggling this season. But yeah, like you mentioned with Nelson, when with Brett Strom, I think that Jarvis is just another testament to a guy who's going to just take off under his tutelage.
That's a very interesting point. I like how you brought up the walk rates because, 2021 wasn't a bad year, but he walked 30 and 75 innings pitched with 75.1. Excuse me. In 2022, he has 26 walks and 46.1 innings pitched. And I remember I saw him face the Springfield Cardinals, and his stuff just did not look good at all. Like everything was down the middle or middle in. It was no in between. It wasn't like he wasn't getting a lot of swing and misses. He wasn't really keeping guys off balance. He wasn't mixing anything up. It was just fastball, slider, curveball. But this may be a little bit of a maybe 2022 has made him not trust some of his stuff in certain situations. And when a pitcher does that, I'm honestly just throwing it out there like that could be happening with Jarvis this year because an almost 8 ERA, 49 strikeouts and 46 innings. The strikeouts are there, but I just don't know about Jarvis this year. But I do still think that going forward, he can be solid. It's just figuring out what is the problem this year.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, it's more from what you were saying. Yeah, his spin is still really good, but it definitely isn't what it was in the past from the starts that I've seen. And he wasn't mixing things up as well. But yeah, he was leaving his pitches in more hittable areas. And yeah, I think that's him not trusting his stuff as much. And if you remember, he pitched in spring training this year, and he really didn't look as sharp as either. So I wonder if that's kind of carried over into the season, and that may have, maybe he's in his head this season.
Yeah, this is just speculating from like what we've seen, but Jarvis, we still think could be a really solid pitcher going forward.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I can still definitely see him striking out 200 plus batters this season. Like I said, he works quickly off the mound. He's gonna be a bulldog on the mound. He's another pitcher that's just struggling right now. So I'm a little bit worried, but I'm not all too worried. I still think that he's gonna be a high strikeout pitcher who's gonna produce a lot of spin. But yeah, definitely something's up this season.
All right, so Austin, number 2 on our list. Or on our risers part of our list is going to be AJ Volkovic. And for me, he was around 4 in 2020. And to me, it's just nothing but power with him. It's power or nothing. His hit tool is pretty good. Well, I wouldn't say good, maybe like it is average. But the power, he's going to sell out for power going forward. But he also has some speed to him too. So a guy with power, speed, you add him with Corbin Carroll and Alec Thomas, and you have a really good top of the lineup with some not even surprising power, with some good power over the fence and gap to gap. So Austin, what do you think about AJ Volkovic?
Yeah, Volkovic is a really interesting prospect as well. And yeah, like you said, he's definitely going to sell out for power. The walk rates really do concern me. He's only walked 7 times this season in 170 plate appearances. So I think that's definitely something that needs to improve. That being said, yeah, he's going to be another guy, like you said, at the top of the order who's going to, imagine the stolen base totals that the Diamondbacks will have in let's say 3-4 seasons with Carroll, Thomas, and Volkovic up at the top of that order, and Lawler, as a matter of fact, because Lawler is going to steal a handful of bases. The Diamondbacks have done really well. And yeah, like you said, he was only a 4th round pick. So it's not like they just said, hey, we're going to take a guy and spend a boatload of money on him to get him out of the draft. They were wise with it. And yeah, good job, Diamondbacks.
Especially for only a 5-round draft. That was a pretty good get in round 4. So it'll just be interesting to see if the swing and miss issues that he has trends basically comes back to bite him. But we'll see. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, and it has improved slightly this season. He's only struck out 39 times and 161 at bats so far. Obviously, that could change because it is a long season, but it is nice to see that improvement compared to last season when he had 105 and 368. So a little bit of hope there.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Okay, so Austin, number 3 on our list is actually a guy that was on my radar about 4 or 5 months ago, which we do these lists a lot longer than that, but I just feel like this guy, he should have made his way to this list because of what he did in 2021, but also how raw of a prospect he is. And we're talking about Davison De Los Santos. He's an 18-year-old currently playing in low A, and he's been very interesting because he just had a 9-game hitting streak snapped last night, 6-10. So June 10th, he had a 9-game hitting streak snapped. He has hit more home runs and 36 fewer plate appearances, and that's 9 this year than last year. And his stats for April, May, and June just make him a very intriguing prospect because April, he had a slash line of 244, 268, 423. In May, he had a 275, 337, 429. In June, 267, 303, 567. So that is average on base and slugging. So as you can see, the slugging numbers are going up, but the on base is slowly trickling down. So I think that he's a very raw prospect. There's plenty of power. I think he will, much like Volkovic, I think that these two are very similar, that he's going to sell out for power. But what he's doing at 18 years old is something that needs to be seen and needs to be known more about Davison De Los Santos, because he has the opportunity, or maybe not opportunity, but the potential of being a major impact bat for the Diamondbacks. And Austin, I know I did his report, but do you have anything to say about De Los Santos?
I'm not gonna lie, I had no idea about the guy until you brought him up. So yeah, good job, Diamondbacks.
So Austin, you're giving a lot of praise to the Diamondbacks right now. So good on you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
For once, he's being nice. Okay, cool. Number 4 on our list, we're gonna move forward here with another outfielder, and I feel like we're talking so much about the outfielders, but we're preaching how good their pitching depth is. But one of my personal favorite players in the Diamondback system, we're talking about Wilder Patino. And as much as I don't like to throw around the 5-tool prospect to anyone, I have actually said that before back in 2020 when I was talking about Wilder Patino. I think that he has the ability to be the best of any of the outfielders that we are talking about today. And in 2022, he already has 27 stolen bases and has set a career high in home runs with 6 in 50 plus more plate appearances. But his previous career high was 2. Wilder Patino is going to be a top of the order bat with some power. So maybe like 50, 55 power with an above average hit tool. That's the way that I see Wilder Patino. That is if he stays healthy, because one thing that has been known with him is health, and health. He needs to stay healthy, because if he does, that talent is incredible. Austin, what do you know about Patino?
Yeah, funny you mentioned about 2020, because I'm actually looking at that tweet right now. And in your tweet, you said, when healthy, he has 5-tool potential and has a ceiling as a starter. He'll need more time in the minors as he's still very raw, but his maturity and ability to get on base are nice to see. So again, you're preaching that he needs to stay healthy, and I definitely agree. But From what I've seen of Patino, I really like how short and compact his swing is. I really like the way that he accelerates around the base paths. He's going to be another guy that steals a lot of bases too. I'm going to call it, let's say 2026 Diamondbacks are going to lead the National League in stolen bases with Carroll, Lawler, Thomas, Volkovic, and Patino all in their lineup. And Patino, I can agree with 50 power. I don't think that he's going to be a big home run guy. I can see 20 plus, but I do, again, I mentioned, how short and compact his swing is. I do really like his bat speed too. So I think that he's going to be another one that puts up a lot of doubles too. Yeah. The Diamondbacks have done a really good job of getting really athletic kids, as we mentioned, before we got into this list. And Patino is just another testament to that. And yeah, he's another guy that I haven't seen as much of compared to you, but from what I have seen, I do agree that the ceiling is very, very high on Patino.
Yeah, and I was actually really bold with what I was saying. Well, not only in that tweet, but in my write-up, I had him as a top, or when I did the Arizona Diamondbacks 2020 top 20 prospects, I had him top 10, and not a lot of people had him top 10 in their rankings. So I thought that, and then Patino went down with injury, and just a lot of people started to discredit him. And it's just, Wilder Patino, when he's healthy, is a beast. He's a stud, and he's easily one of the best players on this list when he's healthy. So that's just, I'm just going to keep preaching health, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of Patino.
We got to remember that he's only 20 years old. He was signed at 16, so there still is plenty of projection in him and plenty of time for him to project. So yeah, again, he really does have to stay healthy, but I think that over time that he will get better at staying healthy. But yeah, 20 years old and he's already doing these things. Yeah, good job, Diamondbacks.
What I've noticed with this list, Austin, is how freakishly young some of these players are compared to, other lists that we've had. But Bryce Jarvis is 24. AJ Volkovic is 20. Davison De Los Santos, 18. Wilder Patino, 20. It's like the highest age is 24, which is still fairly young for a top prospect, because they still have a lot of time to reach their ceiling, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is both in the outfield and with pitchers, a lot of youth. And I'm gonna throw this out there. I am gonna be pretty bold. I think that one of these top guys is going to be involved in a huge trade package. Who it is, I don't know. But, when you have guys like Thomas, Carroll, De Los Santos, Volkovic, you want those guys to get playing time in the big leagues. So you want to find, they need a way that they can develop in the big leagues as well. And, someone's going to get lost behind someone. So I think that there's going to be a really big trade in the next couple of seasons. And again, who it'll be, I don't know, but I'm going to be bold and call that.
That is very bold, especially when right now the D-backs aren't looking too promising at the major league level. But anyway, let's move on to our final riser. And this is another guy that I actually told you about. And this is another 2020 draftee. We're talking about Brandon Pfaadt. And my goodness, when I say that he is one of my top prospect crushes, he is. He was only signed for $100,000 in the fifth round. And he advanced. He's already at the AA level. He is 23 years old. But last year, he had a 30.2% strikeout rate. His fastball sets mid-90s and can touch up to 97 with arm side run. So there's late movement on it. He has some really solid secondaries with a slider and a curveball. The slider is better, in my opinion. It'll get plenty of swings and misses. And Brandon Pfaadt, he's a workhorse who started 33 games in 2 seasons so far since he's signed. And, it's just very interesting that we end on another pitcher with some high upside and high strikeout numbers. Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, you forgot to mention how amazing that his command has been in the minors. He only walked 28 batters last season in 131 and 2/3 innings. He's only walked 11 this season versus 71 strikeouts in 53 and 2/3 innings. And yeah, he was a 5th-round pick out of a Division II school. So there's always skepticism with picking up D2 guys. And yeah, considering it was a 5-round draft in 2020, I wouldn't say it was a major risk that the Diamondbacks had, but it was definitely a bit of a gamble. But they obviously knew what they were doing. And Brandon Pfaadt, just another guy who has just been amazing. And yeah, we both could talk about him all day and night. And it is true, folks, Drake definitely has a big prospect crush. He never shuts up about him. And that's, why I picked you up a first Bowman paper purple out of 250 for you. Spoiler alert. Sorry, I never mind the surprise.
Yeah, well, I think if I remember correctly, you already spoiled it. But, I don't talk about him as much as you talk about Colton Cowser, but that is for a different episode. That's when we talk about the Orioles, and you're going to spend 10 minutes just on Colton Cowser alone. So yeah, that should be pretty interesting.
We're allowed to have prospect crushes, and I'm not judging you for having Pfaadt as your prospect crush, unlike how you judge me all the time for Cowser being mine. So, jerk.
Okay, call me a jerk. That's pretty unnecessary. All right. I'm kind of tired of you calling me a jerk for me just stating the obvious.
Well, I'm kind of tired of looking at your face. So, yeah.
Folks, do you not see how he treats me? Like, wow, unbelievable. But
yeah, okay.
Anyway, Austin. And see, folks, all he does is interrupt me and just make things that go by slower. My goodness, man. But anyway, just to recap our 5 risers, we had Bryce Jarvis, AJ Volkovic, Davison De Los Santos, Wilder Patino, and Brandon Pfaadt. And now, Austin, here comes the part of the podcast where I challenge you. I am challenging you, someone that we did not mention today, who is going to be a fast riser through this system. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so my guy is going to be Dominic Fletcher. And if that name does seem familiar, that is because he is David Fletcher's brother. He was drafted in the 2nd round of the 2019 MLB draft out of University of Arkansas. And I did see him a handful of times when he was with Arkansas. And, he showed promise. And yeah, last season, his hitting was average. He did surprise me with a little bit of pop, hitting 15 bombs, and it's continued to develop. He has 9 bombs so far right now, and he is hitting 337 with the 400 on base, and he has been doing really well in AAA. So I can see possibly a September call if this season. If not, he should be called up sometime next season. And that's my guy.
Oh, so that's very interesting that you chose an outfielder, because I also chose an outfielder, and mine is a 21-year-old. He's in high A, massive power potential, in my opinion. We're talking about Nefi Castillo. And Austin, I remember I showed you the footage of him, and he hit an absolute bomb in spring training off of, I believe it was Marco Gonzalez. And the ball was absolutely laced. And he did hit 21 home runs and had 14 doubles last year, had a career year. In my opinion, while there is high power potential, there's also high strikeout. And but that upside is really going to make him into a prospect that people want to watch and want to see, because he's a raw player, but at the same time, there's risk with him. So people are going to be very intrigued by him.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that you chose a pitcher, because it seems like every other prospect that we've talked about tonight has been either a really athletic outfielder or a stud pitcher. So when you went with another outfielder, I was like, what?
That's actually a very good observation. We went outfielder, pitcher, shortstop, pitcher, then pitcher, infielder, outfielder, pitcher.
Yeah. Good
Actually.
job. Good job, Drake.
Thank you. I know.
Proud of you, kid.
I'm the best. Did you just say kid? Okay. All right, old man. Oh, I'm sorry. De Los Santos. I skipped over him. He's an infielder.
Oh.
So yeah.
So he had a pretty nice balance.
So we have. Yeah. So we had 1, 2, 3. So we had 3, 4. So we had 5 outfielders in total. We had 4 pitchers and 2 position players, or two infielders.
So you know what this means,
so a pretty nice balance. Wow.
You know what this means, right? Diamondbacks have got to draft a catcher this year in the draft.
What are you trying to say? You gonna go cleat up and go try to be a catcher?
My name's Drake and I think I'm funny.
Folks, I think it's time to end this. I mean, Austin's an old man and he has to go to bed soon because he's he needs to wake up in the morning and go walk his dog at 4 a.m. All right, Austin. So I think it is time to end this. That we have been discussing the D-backs farm system and just drooling over them for far too long. This has been Prospects Worldwide. I have been your host, Drake Mann. This has been the podcast version of Risers and Shiners. Austin, you could say bye, plug anything. What would you like to say?
It was, God, that was fucking terrible. It was a lot of fun going over this system, a lot of high upside, high athleticism. And like Drake said, my name is Austin Farmer and you can find me on Twitter at AustinFO421. And, I think I should start doing old grandpa tweets because apparently that's what I am in this group. So, okay. Wow.
Yeah, well, that's what you are, especially with some of your baseball takes. But anyway, that's for a different podcast. We could just go on about how bad some of his baseball takes are. But anyway, peace, everybody.